So Destined Rivals just keeps going up and I just bought more. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the price of Destined Rivals, how high I can think it can go, and also how low the restocks will bring it. But first, let's take a look at the current price on TCG Player, right? It's over $300 now, $300 with $5.95 shipping. And if you take a look at the listings, right, 268, this was at 300 something just a few days ago. So it's already dropping a lot in quantity. And you can see the average daily sold is still very high at about 35 a day. And if you take a look at the listings, right, we have one at 309, one at 309, one at 315, and then three at 315. And then now we're in the 320s, 318, 319, 319. So this looks to be about a $320 booster box in a couple days, maybe a day or two. We'll definitely hit that 320 mark. So this booster box, of course, is going up so fast. But why did I buy more? And just how high can this booster box go? And more importantly, when can we expect reprints? And how low can those reprints bring Destined Rivals back down? Because I want more, you want more, everyone wants more Destined Rivals. The best way to get this data is to look at a prior set that was just as popular and that was released around the same time, which is going to be Surging Sparks. Of course, we can't just compare apples to apples, right? And I know this is just one data point, but it gives us a slightly more clear visual of what we can expect going forward with Destined Rivals. Because Surging Sparks, was a very hyped up set that went up really fast in price that also recently got a reprint. So let's take a look at what exactly happened to Surging Sparks and use that data to predict what will happen with Destined Rivals. So looking at Surging Sparks, it was released in November of 2024, as you can see. It shot up to a high of 265 in March of 2025, and then it slowly went down until there was a reprint, right? The reprint / restock happened in June of 2025, as you can see from these giant spikes in supply, right? We have the initial supply, which is always the largest. You guys have to remember the initial supply for booster boxes on the initial launch is always the largest supply. The later restocks that happen, it's barely anything compared to the initial stock. That's why you should always buy when there's the most amount of stock, and that's why I got a position in Destined Rivals when there was the most amount of stock. So in June, Surging Sparks went down to $215 a box, so from $265 down to $215, and now 1 month later in July, it is back up to $240. From the high of $265 to the low of $215, that is a decrease of about 18.86%. Now let's take this percentage and plug it into the data we have currently for Destined Rivals to try to have some sort of prediction, right? So Destined Rivals was released in May of 2025 for about, $280. That's where it started off, and then it slowly went down in about mid-June, all the way down to about $240, $230. And then recently we've seen this spike up to about $300. Based on the data we have for Surging Sparks, released in November, high of March, we can use the same time intervals and assume that the high is going to be somewhere around September of 2025, right? Now, using that same time interval, we can also predict when the low point or the restock is going to happen, right? Surging Sparks got released in November, got restocked in June, right? That is, how many months is that? That's 7 months. Same thing we can do with Destined Rivals is we can go May to December, that's around 7 months. So assuming Destined Rivals gets reprinted the same way Surging Sparks got reprinted, we can assume the low is going to be around December when they reprint. And so what does that mean, right? That means we're going from a high of, let's say, 350 to 400, right? We're assuming Destined Rivals is a $350 booster box to a $400 booster box at its high in September. And with the reprint news and then the subsequent reprint that happens, it will drop Destined Rivals back down to about 280 to 320, right? And that is based on the same 18.86% loss from Surging Sparks. And we just plug that into the data from Destined Rivals, and we get this 284 to 324 number based on the $350 to $400 high. And that is also why I bought another booster box of Destined Rivals for $270 just today. 270 I think is a very still safe play, right? It's under market, it's about 10-15% under market, and we know that Destined Rivals is going to continue going up in the near term, right? Up until maybe around September based on this data. and then we know that the reprint's going to happen, and the news is going to create some FOMO or some fear in the markets, and that's going to bring prices back down. How much, right? We're using the 18.86% from Searching Sparks, but Destined Rivals is arguably a stronger set, so you could argue that, you know, maybe it wouldn't go down as much, but we're just going to keep these numbers the same as Searching Sparks for the purpose of this video. So we're assuming it's going to bring it back down to 284 to 324, depending on how high, of course, Destined Rivals goes. So a $270, $280 entry, I think is still great. I think right now, if you can pick up Destined Rivals under 280, it's still a screaming buy. That's just my personal opinion, right? I'm putting my money where my mouth is, right? That's why I bought a box today, and I'll actually show you guys which website I bought the booster box. So I bought Destined Rivals from Bucks Card Shop. This is not sponsored. I bought from them before. I've actually bought one of my cases for about $1,400 from them. They're out of cases now, but they still have individual booster boxes for $269.99, and there's no shipping, there's no tax, so it's the $270 flat. So if you stay till the end of this video, well, here's a little gift for you, right? This is 10-20% under market, so it's a great buy in my opinion, and it's still in stock. So if you're thinking about picking up Destined Rivals, this is probably one of the best prices on the market for you guys. Some other places that have Destined Rivals under market are Flipside Gaming, right? This is $280 right now, their booster box. I'm not sure if they charge tax and shipping, but I would assume probably not. And two other sites that have a lot of Destined Rivals usually, but they're currently sold out, are Stomping Grounds. I also bought one of my cases from them. So when they restock, you know, it might still be a good price. And then same thing with Collector's Cash. I bought two of my cases from them, and it looks like they raised their price to $299. But you know, they tend to kind of fluctuate their price, so this could drop if we get a reprint of Destined Rivals. So I would look out for Collector's Cash as well. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and hope you guys found this helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Destined Rivals. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.